Hello and welcome to another episode of Discover with Spinati. I'm your host, Dr. Spinati. I mean, who else would it be? And today you're tuning in to episode number 139. We're talking about veneers and the secret to happiness and how veneers contribute to your happiness. And how I'm doing that is by dispelling the three myths surrounding veneers, the three myths that most people think about when it comes to doing veneers. And this is really important. So I'm going to just name them and I'm going to destroy them. The first one is that veneers destroy teeth. Now, that's not true at all, but I'm going to get to that in a second. That's the first myth. The first myth is that veneers are not good for your teeth. Number two is that they look fake. So many people think that these veneers look fake. And the third, yes, that's the best one, is that they're expensive. And I'm going to dispel that one too. It's actually the easiest one to dispel. So the first one is regarding them not being good for your teeth. Now, if they're done properly, veneers the thickness of the veneers are between 0.3 millimeters and 0.7 millimeters, maybe 1 millimeter, maybe. So if you just to look at the ruler and see how thick that is, half a millimeter, you'll understand that it's not much in terms of how much tooth structure is actually being removed. Now, the concern here is that when you remove that tooth structure, you're going to have a lot of problems in the future. And that's completely false. If anyone has ever gotten veneers and then gotten them replaced, 10, 15 years later or 20 years later, they'll understand and they'll know that it's almost impossible to remove them. And the reason is once they're bonded on the teeth, they become part of your tooth. So all you're doing is literally you're replacing the top, let's say on an extreme level, you're replacing the top 1 millimeter of your tooth with beautiful porcelain. That's what you're replacing it with. Porcelain that never stains. You never have to worry about whitening ever again. You wake up and you sleep the exact same looking, the exact same way. And you can eat anything. You can eat sushi because sushi, obviously, with soy sauce, it stains your teeth. You can drink coffee, tea. You can drink whatever the heck you want. Your teeth are never going to get stained. Did I mention you never have to whiten your teeth ever again? So the thing is, with regards to it destroying your teeth, it doesn't. It lasts a significant amount. It's a very long time, especially if they're well maintained, if you're flossing, if you're brushing regularly, if you're using the proper appliances to take care of yourself. If you're not brushing too hard, you're using electric toothbrush, you're going to the dentist regularly, you're doing what they're prescribing you to do, then it's going to last you 15, 20. I've seen people with 30-year veneers, right? So it really depends on you and how well you maintain it. And if you wear, a night guard and so on and so forth. I mean, whether or not you have veneers, you need to get a night guard if you're a grinder. But we're neither here nor there. So in terms of it, the first myth, in terms of it destroying your teeth, false. Okay, because they become part of your teeth. That's the whole point, is that the veneer, the porcelain, replaces the top 1 millimeter of your tooth, and it literally becomes part of your tooth. Like it becomes a section of your tooth. So if a dentist then in the future wants to replace it, or you want to replace it, and the dentist then, the actual removal process is tougher than removing enamel. And that's if it's done properly, right? So if it's bonded properly, it's impossible to remove it. I'm telling you right now from experience, okay? Impossible. So it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort for those veneers to come off because it becomes part of your tooth. So that's myth number one, eliminated, okay? So they don't destroy your teeth, they become part of your teeth. Number two, they look fake. That is completely false because the whole point of veneers is so that they can accentuate, they can enhance the way that your teeth look. If the veneers look fake, then that's not the point of the veneer. Then that's not a good job with the veneer. It's kind of like if you see a car and it has really nice paint and you're like, wow, this has really nice paint. You've seen those cars with like really cool paint and like the paint changes color as the light hits it in different directions. It turns from like purple to like blue and all that stuff. That's amazing. But I'm sure you've seen cars that have been not so good in terms of their paint job. Well, the whole point of paint, because you can say, oh, I don't want to paint my car because my car is going to look like crap. That's not the point of paint. The whole point of painting your car is so your car looks a lot better. That's the whole point of veneers. The whole point of veneers is so your smile and your teeth look a lot better. And so if you have, if you've seen veneers that you can actually notice, because veneers are not supposed to actually notice them unless the person who wants the veneers wants them to be noticed, right? Because I do have some people who come in and say, I don't want them to look natural. I want them to look as fake as humanly possible. I want people to know that I've spent a ton of money on my teeth. I've had those patients, and those patients want those kind of veneers, right? That's fine. I mean, if you look at Conor McGregor, look at his teeth. Like, he just smiles from a mile away. You can tell, right, that he has veneers, right? They're blindingly white. You can see all and other celebrities too. But if you look at, some other celebrities, you won't know that they have veneers, but they do, right? I mean, I can name them for you, but they do. So an example would be Tom Cruise. I'm sure you didn't know he has veneers. So there are a lot of other celebrities that have veneers that you have no clue that they have veneers, because the veneers actually did their job, which is they enhance their smile, but they don't look fake. So the second one, in terms of veneers looking fake, eliminated, because veneers are not supposed to look fake. Veneers are supposed to accentuate and enhance your smile, and supposed to make you look absolutely your best, so that you never have to whiten your teeth. You never have to worry about staining. You never have to worry about not eating or drinking certain things. Your teeth look gorgeous no matter what. Every time you smile, it's a wow. So it really does change lives. Okay, take it from me. Third, but certainly not least, but these are the top three. The third one, and this is my favorite one, is that they're expensive. Now, hear me out. I know you're going to say, how are they not expensive? Well, I mean, if you just listen to me, you'll find out. They aren't expensive in perspective, okay? Because when you say it's expensive, you're saying that you're going to part ways with your money, and then you're only going to get value at a certain amount of time. And then you have to obviously put in some more money as time goes on. And so that's why you say it's expensive, right? Because that reoccurrence of you separating yourself from money for that same thing is consistent. And so then that's why you label it as expensive. But let me give you another perspective. And I'm going to compare it with two things that are familiar to everybody. The first one is a purchase of a home. So the purchase of a home nowadays, a home runs between, let's say, $500,000 to $1 million, depending on the size of the house, how big it is, where it is, and stuff like that. Okay. So let's take the $1 million example. So let's say you buy a house for $1 million. Well, how often are you actually in the house, and how often are you at work? Well, if you were to look at it, including the weekends, you're spending around 50 to 60% of the time that you are invested in that house, in the house, right? The rest of the time, you're actually not in the house. This is a very important point for you to realize. You also have to realize that buying a house isn't it. It doesn't stop there. There's maintenance, there's insurance, there's yard work, there's daily cleaning, there's, if someone breaks something, you have to fix it. If the pipes burst, if, the heat's not working, like, there's a lot of things that pile up along the purchase of a house. So that's the house, right? And over time, you more than likely will get rid of the house, and then you're going to get another one, right? That's a house. And if you stay in the house for a long time, you have to renovate it and you have to update it, which costs more. Like, there's a lot of things that you have to inject into it. Okay. So it's not just a one-time thing. That's the house. Stick with me here. The car runs around, a decent one, I'd say on the lower end, is around 40,000. A really good one's around 100,000. So let's take the higher, 100,000. So $100,000 car, you have it. How often do you think that you actually use it? Around 30% of the time. So you just spent $100,000 on a car. And a car, as you and I both know, a car depreciates with time. So over time, the car is valued less and less. So it's not like you're buying a car and then over time it's going to be worth more. So you just spent $100,000 or $40,000 or whatever $1,000 on a car, but over time, it's decreasing in value. So that's number one. Number two, you're only using it for around 30% of the time. So you're not using it much. Number three, You have to buy insurance, put gas, maintenance, car, tire rotation or tire replacement. If things go wrong with anything in the engine, if whatever something happens, like someone dings your whatever it is, you have to keep maintaining it. And you're not using it more than 30% of the time because most of the time it's parked, right? Most of the time you're not actually driving it. And that's a car. And you just spent around $40,000, $100,000. Okay. But you have to think about that, right? Because we don't think about cars being expensive, right? We think about it's a necessity. Now, veneers. Veneers run you around $20,000 to $40,000, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on how many teeth, depending on who you see, depending on the quality, stuff like that. Now, the cool thing about veneers is that once you get them, you're using them 24/7. So 24/7, meaning literally every second of your entire life, you're using those veneers. Just that alone, without me going into further detail, makes them incredibly cheap because you're getting a lot in return for that investment. You're using it so often. So if you were to calculate, anytime you buy something, you want to see how often you use it, right? Because then that'll tell you whether or not that expense was worth it, because that's the return on your investment, the usage of it. So if you were to calculate the usage of the car, 30%, and you just spent 40,000, that's not really a good investment. House, same thing. I mean, the only thing you can think of a house that it's a good investment is that, and it's not really an investment if you talk to wealthy people, but let's say you want to talk about it as an investment, is that it increases in value over time, even though you don't use it too often. So that's a fair argument. But I mean, the price difference is pretty high, right? We're talking $500,000, $1 million to compare to $20,000, $40,000, right? Like we're talking a huge difference in cost here. Okay. All right. So 24/7, you're using it consistently. Number one. Number two, you never have to do anything extra to it. Like there is no additional things that you have to do to it. You don't have to, I don't know. It's literally the exact same thing that you have to do as your natural teeth, which is floss every day, brush every day, go to the dentist regularly. Okay. And if you're a grinder, you would wear a night guard. I mean, if you're putting porcelain in your mouth, I highly recommend you wear a night guard. But that's it. Like there's nothing Additionally, you never have to worry about whitening your teeth ever again. You always look absolutely gorgeous all the time, whether you're, traveling or whether you're going to work, whether it's a Monday or whether it's a Friday. You look gorgeous every single day, 24/7. Every time you smile, people notice. Every time you talk, people notice, right? So that obviously increases your confidence, makes you feel better about yourself. That itself is priceless. That's why, to me, when you talk about veneers, and I mentioned those other two things before, which is, they look fake, which they don't, and that the first one, which was that they destroy the teeth, which they don't, because like I said, they become part of your teeth. And take into account that you use them 24/7, man, it's the best bang for your buck you can ever spend in your life. Think about it. So that's it. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about cosmetics and veneers when it comes to dentistry, especially when it's done well. And if you have any questions, feel free to feed them to us at Spinetti Dentistry. We are more than happy to help you out. And remember, and as always, keep smiling.